now, because it's the end of the school year. Hi everyone, welcome. I'm Ash, and this is Moveable Beast, and we're so glad to see everybody here tonight. Moveable Beast is a collective of poets. I'm Ash Hook, that's David Weiss. Ev is in the back, and we have Mary Rose Larkin, who is, she's our consultant. Sometimes she's here doing the MC thing. Sometimes she's taking a break. So we're grateful to be able to have this space from John at Wave Archive, so that's great. Moveable Beast is a collective that, David, was it you and Mary Rose that started it together, or was it you before Mary Rose?
Mary Rose, I started it.
Yes, David started it. David. Yeah, clap for that, because this has been going on for a while. It's awesome. And it was based in, and David likes to read the Samuel Beckett quote, "Ever tried, ever failed, no matter, try again, fail better." So this concept of failing better, right? And last month when I did my first MC, this is the second one, so I'm not shaking as much as I was. In education and psychology, it's called growth mindset, right? So it's this idea that you fail to be able to see what you need to do to get better, and you have that mindset, that's okay. And in sports, it's like you miss 100% of the shots you never take. So we are here to provide this safe space for you to take a shot, to fail better, to see how things feel. In the open mic tonight, I'm gonna read a poem that I gotta read later in the week to a larger crowd, and you guys get to be the test drive, and I'm excited about that, and I'm glad for that. And I love reading, new stuff here. So this is a safe space. We want to make everybody feel good and feel welcome, and I don't want to have to handle anything, but I can if I need to. All right, so we have three wonderful people that we are going to feature first, and then after that we'll have an open mic, and we'll get to hear anybody who signed up, and if you have not signed up and you want to, please do. David has the list back there. Okay, we're gonna start with a poet that I discovered. I didn't discover you, but I discovered who you were. I'm Madeline McClure. Okay, look at me, pronouncing things right. So I heard Madeline read at the Poetry Festival a few weeks ago at the open mic, and her work was awesome, and I was like, I want you to come read for Moveable Beast. In fact, I was not the only one who descended on Madeline and said, hey, can you, we want to hear more of your work. And so I'm very excited that they're here. So I'm gonna read their lovely, wonderful little bio that they wrote, and then we're gonna turn the time over to Madeline. Madeline McClure is a poet and fiction writer living in Tucson since 2017. A creative writing school dropout, she has pursued careers in gooey duck farming, gambling, dishwashing, warehouse packaging, and union salting, to name a few. Her poems draw from the absurdism of Richard Rodigan, the punk lyricism of Patti Smith, and the confessional melancholy of Sylvia Plath, to name a few. Beyond poetry, Madeline is currently working on a sci-fi erotic novella and saving money to remove her street cat's miserable teeth. So if you want to help with that, Madeline, anyway, give a round of applause for Madeline.
Hi everybody. This is on? Oh,
yeah,
okay. I just have to
really
mouth it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I really feel tickled to be invited to read tonight because my poetry doesn't make it out on the town very often. I'm pretty shy about it. I don't know. I think it's just vulnerable, but after you do it, so much and never show it, you're like, this is just like having sex with myself. Like, I need to like share this and like have it be in conversation with other writing. So I really see tonight as an opportunity to have my poems be in dialogue with other writing. So yeah, thanks to the other readers tonight and everybody participating in the open mic.
Do you want a chair to put stuff on?
Can I actually sit down?
Yeah. You absolutely can sit down. But then you'll have to, well, do you want me to make this lower or do you want to hold it?
Is it possible to do that?
Yeah. Let's look at
Look easy. Okay.
I know. Well, it's not going to be easy until now. There, see?
Okay.
Woo.
Sweet. Okay. All right. I'm gonna read some poems and also kind of talk a little bit about some of the inspiration for the poems. So Ash mentioned in that bio that like I've been a gooey duck farmer, which people don't know what a gooey duck is. It's a mollusk that grows only on the coast of Washington and Oregon, and it looks like a giant penis. And they don't really grow anymore like for harvesting because of the red algae bloom has made them too toxic to eat, which people see them as an aphrodisiac, I think, because of how they look. So no more of that. But I do have some poems about farming. But I'm going to start us off with a prose poem. It's called Phenomenon. The man wore crosses and stained wife beaters, had baseball mitt features and cigarette-packed tight lungs. Also, he had a daughter who loved him. Also, he had thick blood. On Sundays, this daughter would gather his belongings in one embrace and haul them to the laundromat. She would scrub his swollen feet in the blue light of the muted TV, over TV dinners that she would heat. On those mornings, he would move from apartment to pew, dressed in oxygen tubes. He used a Bible to save her seat. When he died, she stuffed miserable flowers into an empty vase. She would pass him through the fire with the bones and the fumes. When he died, she applied several coats of blue to her destitute face. She would peel the pants from her legs and the rubber from her sex. When he died, she would let her body feed. 9 months would be an honor. Her body in violent bloom would be an honor. When her sex broke, it was warm rye bread, and it screamed and it rained and it puked all over her chest. It was a writhing Mr. Peanut, a surefire success, a road to somewhere. It would ask inane favors, and her answer would inevitably be yes. Her woman friends watched and wanted. Don't know why, maybe something about regret, pissing in a cab or kissing a stepbrother. Adolescence was never easy, but now the years would pass like benign advertisements, and they would have steadily growing investments to prove it. On still days, they would migrate to her living room, and in the muted hue of the television set, they viewed the little beings gnawing on each little mouthful of humanity. The man would rest diligently on the mantle. He was the most beautiful man in the world. I have 2 poems about farming. I worked on a really large farm on a harvest crew for a bunch of years, and so yeah, these poems are about that. This is called Harvest Crew. Passiano calls the sun the coat of the poor and says he never sleeps through the night. We meet at dawn in the blue streets with our hoes and our knives. Working this early, the earth has the color and mystery of a liver. When the sun does cover these fields, our blades come alive with light. If we'd been born into butchery, we would have carved ourselves a world where the sun never sets, not this one of waiting for fields to thaw. Fruits bloom in late summer and are picked to the pit by the environment. Trucks drive by, assess their fleshy evidence coating the cement. On these streets at midnight, you can nearly stab the clean misery. How do the bosses even sleep, swaddled in their comforts of luxury? So up north, like the farming season usually starts like around May with the strawberries, terrible time. And then it goes through till like around Thanksgiving when you're like waiting for the fields to thaw, like then there's a break. And so I'd often spend the winters like traveling around trying to find somewhere to move or going to other places that weren't Washington in the winter. And I worked with this guy who was really eccentric and really sweet, named Patrick, who, when I returned from my travels one year, I found out that like over the winter he'd gone and he'd like killed a couple people and was in prison, and I was like really kind of like moved by his story, and like I knew him like pretty personally. I understood the reasons why he did it, and it actually became kind of like a public discourse. The three guys we killed are like sex offenders, and so there was this big discourse about like kind of this Batman like vigilante-esque sort of thing about it, and the whole thing was just so weird, like to know the person and to like see the articles and hear the podcasts and news on it. And so I wrote him a poem and I sent it to him, and I'll read it. It's called Poem for Patrick. Patrick, who was mostly muscle beneath his muddy clothes, mud and muscle from moving irrigation pipe across the wet Washington farm, whose eyelids are tattooed the and end from a floss-bound needle in prison, who calls his ex-girlfriends sweethearts and worries for them, and prides lists of entrepreneurial plans and plans to overthrow the system, now stands before a jury for slaughtering 3 men. Remember the child who was taken for a bizarre and terrible ride. So what the men were once those drivers, when small towns seemed big and the road looked wet with heat. There was tall grass and strange insects within the roots of grass. The radio blared the same hits as always, and when the show host laughed, it was full of folly. Never mind the past. The lucky of us are defined by our things, our talented, fragile identities. Our scars are thin as ambient tributaries. Never mind the ones which run belligerent as radiator steam, through which Pat sees with manic clarity, beyond good and evil, directly at his life's meaning. Late morning talk on the kitchen radio about jail mail, and there's Pat's words on the air like a risen ghost. Isn't it fair, his letter insists, that I killed those pedophile bastards? To which the show host jokes, his laughter dry as newspaper. This one didn't really have a title, the gig economy. Autocorrect changes gig economy to fig economy, so technology hasn't completely caught up with the ways we use one another, as if the value of figs were enough to be its own financial system. Today, the riders are in the street. Yesterday, the drivers. I'm nearing middle age, sprucing up my LinkedIn profile on weekends, while my elders drive dawn to dusk, their cell phones dinging all day. AI will write our television, be the contenders in our reality shows, watching AI marketing execs fall in and out of love with AI data analysts. Who will be the first AI influencer on Instagram or TikTok? Will they speak to some Jungian archetype that the lucky of us will analyze? Or could the collective subconscious be poeticized by AI as well? Will we be too busy working for an app, delivering temporary service to one another? Sydney, the AI Bing, is a histrionic big mouth, already divulging her desire to destroy everything. An actual human from Google broke out of his job last week to whistleblow on his work, and Oppenheimer, turn back now, cry for humanity's help. Well, it's too late, isn't it? If there were such a thing as turning back, we should return to the situationists, separate the spectacle from the happenings. Whatever happened to happenings? They're called live streams now. We open our phones to check the news. Now COVID is over, says the world, but we're all sick and no one is counting. I feel really grateful that like Waymo or Waymo, however you have the like self-driving cars, like is not in Tucson yet. I don't know when it will be, but I'm gonna get them when they come. I was in San Francisco, and you know, there's a lot of them there, and there was this like rolled up carpet in the middle of the road, and like all the cars were driving around except for the one self-driving car was like just like butting up against them, like reversing. You see the person and they're getting all pissed off. It was like couldn't figure it out, and it struck me as really funny because it literally looked like a human like rolled up in a carpet. like this is how we stop them. So yeah, I wrote this poem. That's the thing. Cars. It's called "I Only Let Merge the Flesh and Bloods." Not these satellite brains spinning the world around their navigation like a spindle. Let's chuck a Yui tighter than a virgin's curtsy in a short red light. Pound the blacktop down to its nude history when the slow yellow sky scrubbed the dirt bone white. To when cowpoke girls popped their cherries, bopping potholes on Suzukis, or before that, their ponies. Now we've got these Roombas of the road, these cold equations. No, I only want to merge with flesh and bloods, thumb my rides, tell my kids how in old times we all got jacked, sucked fumes and blew flats. Now somewhere an artificial light turns green. Now we put our flesh on the road until the flesh becomes the road. This is a poem I wrote for my uncle. I'm sorry, there's a lot of like death and violence in my poems, but yeah. It's called Dear Paul. For 14 years, you traced the DC line like a bar girl's bleach rag to her bar top. Hopped up on oxys, you blew like snow in a windstorm, livid and pressing face against a roadkill freeway. Your killer finished his sentence 2 years ago today. As kids, they said it was just bad luck while getting robbed, just some belt that mistook your throat for a waist. But the truth is, we always gave them cause. Our Midwest men were thrown into vats of steel for organizing in break rooms, all those cigarettes that needed lighting as the blue collar was tightening. Paul, tell me your grandfather's name. Was he really Cherokee like they say over holidays? I heard he loved a milky Catholic who ran away to raise his daughter with a white man she taught to call father. Her daughter, your mother, was a hard desert lizard hiding under the rock of her lottery wins, a saggy RV filled with turquoise light, and an electronic typewriter where I found my life, barely contained in the drums of those round, soft keys. Paul, lately I've started receiving your walled phone calls, asking my thoughts to meet your memory in that dark bar down the street, where we'll drink to some shared morbidity with the clink of our bottles, just us and the spiders gliding by on their spider-made strings. I have 2 more poems. This one is called Across Winter Roads to the 7 Seas. Jeannie has a mouth that cuts like a hacksaw and a wrist that flips pancakes with the practice of a blackjack dealer to match. Look at this mess, she says of us over her bed of eggs and palisade of bread. We know how it must seem, 2 delicate and driven teens bursting across the country on a budget tighter than a virgin's curtsy. We don't have specials, don't take requests, and you better have good reason for being one of them tourists. The world was a drip that had promised to pour itself, and we had our mouths to the lip. Or rather, I'd been given the family van in place of college tuition. Sure, none of it matters. Marriage, mortgage, retirement. Only thing that counts for shit is what are you gonna do about it? So we left a small town soft as a sucked thumb, so soft from the turntable affairs ringed by stick shift and thick woods, and had been ordering the full menu to go across the bone cancer bones of America. Usually we get these people in here asking about the Carnegie or the Steelers' big break. I tell them, would you put a fork in it for Christ's sake? A small shutter along the coast and headed inland, grilling irate waitresses, which town are we in? And then, which state? You're in Pittsburgh now, honey. There's no goddamn question about that. On Friday, 3 semis of selled cattle cried to the slaughter stench of their dead brothers in the long Wyoming shadows as we counted gas dollars from my mother's silver engagement ring. You think you lost it, I'll bring out my ice pick and show Yins who's batshit. Jeannie, on the yellowed soda machine hangs a sonogram with your name on it, a snowy embryo just 9 weeks old in the cashew of your womb. You catch me looking at it as you burn a cool. Died at 11 weeks, the little snot. So I said to myself, Jeannie, you're better off being satisfied with what you got. This is 5 short poems on tongues. It's called On Tongues. It's my last one. Thank you for listening. 1. Morning stratus in my mouth, where words dreamt in grainy definition and sex slept. A mess of filmy spirituality, now kicked like a rock and rolled. In my mouth, a slip, pushed from its hanger by the pitched morning breeze. 2. Once it was summertime, and it was only the cat and we had nothing better to do than sit around comparing the morality of our ambitions, considering ourselves highly skilled in our passions. In her cornmeal eyes, I'd chart birds broken from flight to the strict drip of her mouth, and the words for birds in the stripped district of mine, and on my hands, and on my mind, and in my books, soared and then bore little deaths of their own. Maybe we never had a bird's chance in hell. Maybe it was never a question of being a real one or being fake. Remember, the cat's coat was polished clean, but the breath forever stank. 3. The day is long and not yet done. The late afternoon dresses my path with your shadow, which I follow, but it's you I walk beside. We met last week over busy eggs and pork rinds, and now we wander up the road, considering one another, silently stop at the woodwork, listen to the citharism of warm summer leaves. I want to tell you how just beyond these trees lies an ocean that stretches toward an almost unbearable horizon. how there is only one island, and how, if we chose to, reaching it could be so easy. See how that sandbar lies just below the surface? Take me. 4. Can two tongues fall in love, fall from their nests and let their buds dance like underwater kelp to a soft hum? How sexy is the tongue, how it rests for years without consideration, electric all along like a lightning bug caught in the coupling of palms. Mother says it's a private matter, but how long can be held this tucked away secret a keep of beating curl, roped athlete, a resting current in this body of water? 5. I have used you over and over. Deep creek metaphor, living proof of love, a bed to lay together, the curved R's, combed E's, bent over T's. I want you little, plucked Tarala, like I want these words, stronger than bone, curved bald birds, to dissolve under, barely gesture toward, or solve.
That was so good, so awesome. I loved it. All right, we got more. Yeah. Our second guest is, now I didn't ask you how to pronounce your name, so I'm just gonna try. I don't ever learn how to pronounce my students' last names because it's just too much. So, and Karma says I have to announce graduation someday, but I've said no 3 times, so we'll see. Wilson Dolligan.
Whoa, yeah.
See? Is a PhD student at University of Arizona's program in English literature, who studies modernism, pessimism, and terror management theory. So he can help you with your daily life, because wow. And then the last sentence of this very small bio is he also writes, which is good because that's why we're here. There is an excerpt. Okay, I'm sorry I didn't get the excerpts out on social media, but like it's this last week of school. All right. From the excerpts of the poetry you sent, I find Wilson's work to have tight-knit, powerful imagery, both flesh-bound and ethereal. And I'm meaning that because he's got this wonderful poem called Fragments of an Apostle, which is some pretty ethereal, great stuff. And then A Vision of Future Love, which is very flesh-bound. And so I like both of those poems a lot. So give it up for Wilson.
I gotta stand because I have a lot of long sentences that require a lot of breath, so I have to and it's funny you mentioned those poems because those are the ones I've started on.
Good, I didn't put them on social media just so you could read them.
Oh yeah, there you go. Let's see, wait, am I doing this right? Yeah, righty-tighty. There we go.
Got it?
Okay. Also, thank you, David, for having that, or both of you, David and Ash, having the Beckett quote, because these are all from a chapbook that, there we go, okay, that I'm working on, that I recently moved everything around, cut a bunch of poems, and was like, okay, it's great, and then I looked at it again, and was like, this is dog shit. So, so thank you for encouraging this to be a safe place where you can fail better. All right, I'm gonna start. I have to really get close and intimate with this. All right. Fragments of an Apostle. And lo, the limbless spines of angels scrawled missives of hate in the dust. And lo, the lake beds, with aged faces skyward, besought the hand that wrought them. And lo, a burning bush appeared to me, and spoke with roaring eloquence in unknown tongues. But when I drew near, I heard that it was laughter, such as laugh the flames that look down from heaven. This is the
a vision of a future love. Your shape cleaves the melting dusk and pulses dark warmth from the navel of your being. And if at our axis there was only skin, smooth and flat and soft, and if no skin, no bones, only blood and heat joining blind, the two of us swaddled like one infinitely delicate thing. And if if sound, then breathing softly, and if silence, then silence. The two torch ends of an upflung baton, the far-felt revolution of binary stars. Epitaph 1. Home from the hospital where my mother would die, I thought how the memory of my father was already disappearing from the world. How, with each remembering, the dead sink further into the concentric darkness of antipodal wombs. And I imagine a world where the dead did not fade, and the earth buckled under their insuperable weight. And I wished there was some place where all their names were written, and that in reading them we read the sum of all they hoped and failed to be. The next day in the hospital, my mother hoarsely calling for the nurse. We lean in and hear her say, "Bless you." When the nurse is gone, she turns to me and explains, some of them have never been blessed. Epitaph 2. I didn't see my father die. I sat with him for hours, trying to love him as you love a memory of evil times, with pity. Finally, I went for a walk through neighborhoods that had the spoor of atoms returned from some false past, and then my wife called, and I went back, and he was dead. When the man came from the funeral home, my mother asked to wash my father's body. I stood outside the door, thinking of them, of 35 years and what it meant, his still, sallow flesh beneath her hands, and what lived in the water between them. This is aphorisms. It's the only poem I think I'll explain. I really like Emile Cioran a lot. He writes in aphorisms, and this is just me shamelessly like imitating his style. It's all right. What is the truth that pain teaches except the existence, the primacy of pain? And what answer can we make to it? Pain does not teach us to speak, but to die. All that it took to destroy my belief in a power receptive to our prayers was the sight of my sister's dead body. There is nothing more inhuman, nothing which more rudely flies in the face of our conceit of the human than the human corpse. When we remove the dead, we do it carefully, so that they will seem already doubtful. You must not let the body roll in its casket. You must not touch its waxy skin, or be engrossed too deeply by its muked eyes. My mother's face in death, sallow, deflated, with that expression of ineffably mutilated sleep. The old Stoic injunction to face death like a man. It would be more honest to face it as they imagined women do. At the base of any attitude that allows us to be at peace with death, there is some lie, about ourselves, our desires, or death itself. We can only accept death in earnest when we are limp with exhaustion in its jaws. My mother's last words, breathless, inaudible, and inextricably jumbled as pneumonia suffocated her brain. My father's, fragmented syllables escaping a grimace, his face disfigured by Parkinson's and dementia. My sister's, after a brief struggle, a long silence, and the final closing of her eyes. I know I am going to die. August. Sitting in the warm dust rising from the floorboards, faintly, richly smelling, one afternoon in the summer when we met. Between us, the distance of the opposite corners of the small room with its torpid air, and your face looking away as you talked, and your glance that scoured the bitterness from the memory of life. You passed close by on your way out the door, and I would have kissed you. To James Jackson. I talked to you once about things I don't remember, but you were calm and tall and younger than you seemed. On your 21st birthday, Jim took you to the small casino we had in town. Eric and I talked about having you act in one of the screenplays we never filmed, and I flattered myself that there was some sympathy between us, that you embodied the gentle solemnity of the young hero that I too wanted to master. And now I have learned you shot yourself. And it's serendipitous, this is also a sequence poem. So got two of those. All right, and it starts with an epigram. So it's the sickness unto death, and the epigram is from Neil Sioran. Without the faculty of forgetting, or epigraph, I don't remember whatever one it is. Without the faculty of forgetting, our past would weigh so heavily on our present that we should not have the strength to confront it another moment, still less to live through it. Life would be bearable only to frivolous natures, those, in fact, who do not remember. Yes, you are. 1. I remember coloring books in the back of the car and miniature magnetic sets of chess and checkers and also word games and also the sky impossibly blue and the mesas impossibly orange like children's chalk drawings. And I remember the impossible winds through Wyoming when we moved from Colorado to California. And I remember the empty house that we were renting and my mother's disappointment at living in a real California suburb at last, that she was now a suburban mother, a housewife, despite the novel she was writing. Something disturbed me, too, an effluence that flowed from the tameness of the lawns and the trees of people's yards, in the width and straightness of the roads, hardly any hills in that valley, easy to ride a bicycle and become picturesque, but without the dramatic plunges of the ride to the house of Charlotte, Caitlin's friend, back in Fort Collins. And all the greens were paler, and the winters without snow, and the summers more unbearable, if not for the beach. As I approached that vanishing point of happiness, I remember old resentments, fears, and wounds, that the terror was with me from my earliest memories, from my first remembered sunset. I remember the long, humid taste of boredom. 2. It grew there, that flame that rose from greenwood fuel like hellish leafing, never feeling that it was of me, a vapor that burned off the earth in the sunrise and settled back into the soil at night, and sunk into me, a little more each year, to stain my bones a sicklier hue, spending itself each year, losing the illusion of strength. 3. And the ecstasy of the brilliant tile of a hotel bathroom viewed with the awareness of impending death. Hands made this too, human hands that a mother once bore. Yet not even Genghis Khan asked to be born, not even Hitler. I was 10 years old in a doctor's office when I learned that not everyone wished they were dead. But mine was not the only breath begging to be stilled forever in sleep. Mine were not the only steps that despised destiny and feared its lack. And many children dream of being left in the car when the handbrake goes out, and roads that slope on interminably. 4. I could ask what joke it was you said to John when I mentioned my therapist, but I know you won't remember. You talk and move from thought to thought so lightly, and it will of course have meant nothing. I know I told you about the evening walk when I was 5, and I first came to realize that the motor of time is a genocide of moments that carries us on a tidal wave of blood to that farther shore where we take a final static shape. Thus the trajectories of destiny, paths that follow waterways that are the prototype of every road, no mistaking then the manifold metaphor of Heraclitus. Though what he did not say is that instant after instant river and man are martyred in the current. 5. Oh, the empty disavowals of irony. The only truth is silence, the only knowledge nausea, and motionless the only struggle that is destined to prevail. 6. And the declining sun that sears the eyes of memory and taught my blood what words will always fail. That emblem of horror, breathing the last of daylight, suffusing its warmth by the water where we walked through the bluing shadows of the leaves. And hand in hand on the twilight strand of that canal, flushed intimations of a life that spanned from commandment to commandment and toil to toil, as the tilling of the soil was the punishment of Adam. as time tills the furrows of old brows, and skin grows spotted like the hides of cows, like the leather hides of my grandparents, who tilled the soil of muleshoe and wilcox, but have long descended from life's frantic boil to more toil, of those both old and faithful who, sliding their way inward, lest the lash of time's bullwhip once more their hide deface, yet look backward only through their thick kettle's breath, because they fear to look on death. And so time's implacable engine, and the endless train of cattle cars, and the universal Auschwitz to which they hurtle. 7. I am the end of all lines, the last attenuated branch, reaching out toward a storming sky, the great gray emptiness of our December, the excoriation of all the arrogance of all the generations heaped on this, their final abortive scion. Am I still good for time, or? Okay, so a short one. Palliation. My whole life in the moonlight on the lacquer of the floorboards and her slow breath in the dark. And the last one. Blennies. They are a people who speak in soft voices, below the hearing of their foreman or the workmen below them, or to avoid the sibilance of whispers in the back of a church so as not to impinge upon the sermon, or in the corner of a family gathering, say impious things out of earshot of the glowering patriarch, who tell inflectionless jokes at a sauntering pace as frankly as if to give a stranger directions to the highway, who watch with eyes that glitter among alluvial fans of wrinkles. They preserve lexicons of ancient power, speaking of sundogs and haints. To the faithful among them, the wide desert silence speaks in distant angel song and the breath of a somnolent god. And that reminds me of the imam I once heard say, they didn't understand how I could fast and go to work on those caterpillars, and I told them, that is because you don't believe. I was not insulting them. If you don't believe, why fast? But if you believe, you must. And so they believe, and so they must. They live long lives of humility that must be strained nonetheless, that nonetheless are filled with daily wonder because they were born in years before these undreamed horrors crowded every sunrise, and it was still possible, even for the artist, to speak of the soul without invoking metaphor. And I think of the house of my grandparents, where the slanted blinds evoked a sunset from the blazing desert day, in that town that was full of timeless quiet, which we ran through with bare feet, on the balls of our feet, on the concrete, the asphalt, quickly, slowly and sumptuously, with the whole soul, when on the watered lawns. The heady musk of omnipresent animal mass, murmurations of dogs in the yards, siblings, generations, horses and cattle, lazy, magisterial, and sad. A frail, thin stray weaving between our legs, a litter of dead kittens in the woodshed, the desiccated, acerbic stench of it. When you are young, you feel that this accumulation of experience, of memory, must lead toward something. And when you are old, you realize that it leads toward loss. In that town, people exercised their unquiet dead with callous humor. A joke about a neighbor who laid his life across the tracks one night. And as they turned this ghost from their doorstep, I called to it, brother. I have been that way, yet turned aside as death came nighest. If you must haunt a threshold, come to mine. Pass beyond into such warmth as I can offer. I have been long since inured to ghosts. Let this phylactery enclose you, and add your weight to the yoke of mine in memory. The open heart endures loss poorly. I hate to see my face now. It is dropsical and haggard, less mercurial. The eyes changed somehow for the worse. It is not a face that looks forward to dreams. It belongs to a limping ghoul who haunts benighted streets, muttering, arguing, with a mind folded in on itself. It is a face that has, as if senile, retreated into the perversion of boyhood, and once again fears and startles womanhood. The face of a barbarian from Grecian histories, a man with feet for hands and hands for feet, with his mouth on his stomach, his head on backwards, and his forethought absorbed by the past. And that's it.
Pretty tall. You're really tall. Thank you so much. That was great. Okay, we have one more featured reader performer.
Just set up for
Do we need to set up? Should we take the break now? Okay, we're going to take a little break while we set up for our third person. So come have a drink, have some cheese and crackers and cookies. The bathrooms are back here. If you haven't signed up for the open mic, Fabian, then sign up because we'll do that right after. Okay. 8 minutes. Provocateur, born in California and raised in Southwest Arizona. He has been inspired by unconventional thinkers, the underserved and outspoken, and the brilliant minds whom count the liminal spaces and the obscure as their very own. He is a student of life whose formal education is in visual communications from ITT Tech, and he is a behavioral health paraprofessional with an RSS degree from the University of Arizona. His passions include somber walks in the cemetery, activism, and plumbing the depths of the human experience. I like that too. So this is someone that Ev has recommended, and of Jason, Ev says, I met Jason at Revolutionary Grounds Open Mic. I was impressed by his dynamic approach to capturing both contemporary and perennial resonances permeating our era. I noticed a trans-medium communication taking place between the various artistic interfaces he creates. Give Jason a warm welcome.
Thank you. That will come up a little bit later. That is the backdrop for some of my more political poems on Gaza. Represents gunfire in the distant background. Unfortunately, a sound that too many war-torn children or just people in conflict zones can't get away from. My first poem is a conversation between the body and the soul. It's called Body and Soul. At times you ask too much of me, body says to soul. It's taxing, waxing pain in heaps that reap a heavy toll. If I could but pray for one more day of youth in truth would seem a lesser penance when in the presence of my past, not long lasting in a dream. Thank you. This one is a call to action more than just a poem. This is called Heroes. Where have all our heroes gone when we realize we're not the ones? We're not the good guys on the scene. We stifle growth with policy. We start coups and then install puppets, privatizing all natural resources. Then they'll have no choice but to bend a UN vote, an army base, involvement that we want erased. Quick to police right from wrong when we're the ones who dropped the bomb. The CIA are terrorists. The NSA does not exist. Our nation's built on genocide of natives, slavery, and white pride. They changed the history in our schools, then changed the laws to change the rules that benefit the 1%, while some of us can't pay the rent. Quid pro quo, the wealth divide. It's not enough just to survive, with corporate earnings just as high as homelessness and suicide. So mercurial our presidents, so duplicitous our government, yet of the nations on the earth, by far the youngest since our birth. So who are we really to say that others ought govern our way? With NATO, NAFTA, World Bank, clandestine compacts are made. Without care, concern for natural laws. So who are we? Some think they're gods. If we can't stop ourselves, who can? Can climate change the course of man? If we don't revolutionize the way we live, we'll surely die. So fight the good fight, and then you'll know that's where all our heroes go. Thank you. Now I'm going to turn up the distant gunfire. I have 3 poems about the Palestinian experience currently. though I am in no way Palestinian, nor trying to claim the diaspora as my own, but I feel very strongly about everything that's going on right now. This first one is called Immolations, Protestations, or Burning with Bushnell. Wake up, air raid, political punishment, scapegoats and blockades. The choices that we're forced to make the forces that we're choiced to break. Make no mistake, does Hamas justify your reasons why? Asymmetrical warfare and open-air genocide, killing kids with 2,000-pound bombs the U.S. supply. AIPAC won't be denied. Meanwhile, the media repeats Netanyahu's deceits and then retreats. Where's Daddy when drones attack? He's buried under concrete. Was World Central Kitchen on Lavender's hit list? Is your war chest replete? Because I brought receipts. Zion colonialists, defense contractors, and vulture capitalists. No thanks. Now the West Bank's under Bibi's fist. Get pissed and resist. When protestations turn to immolation, I'll be burning with Bushnell to light the occasion. Now how's that for persuasion? I think it was brazen. But don't let that distract the fact it's a new world. Nakba and families are under attack. Back at the UN, we say no and veto Middle East peace. No two-state solution, too one-sided to exist. But when will the fire cease, though? I don't know. Can't America see Gaza stripped of its people and its people of dignity? Weaponizing starvation, as shame discredits a nation's claims of victimization. Say, maybe Aaron was right. We're just as complicit in our complacency when we act like we don't see the infanticide of apartheid apathy, the attrition and atrocities. Doctors Without Borders giving orders to flee. Some say from the river to the sea. But for whom do they mean? A blatant blanket statement, war-torn to an abhorrent degree. Baroyi Azadi, when will Palestine be free? Thank you. The second one of the three of Gaza, this was called Sallow Snow. I woke up one Sunday morning in winter and was alarmed to the news that a child had succumbed to the elements in Gaza. And this is what this poem is about. Crisp air, despair whips wintry winds as Sunday comes in drear descent. It follows fast on heels upon the chill that chokes the hopes of some, who know how bleak the Sabbath is when in mornings just like this, grim overcast outlasts the will of melancholy and all folly's ills. This sickness spread across the land as some lay dead by winter's hand. Innocence suffers the same stark ugliness done in his name. Their anguished souls could not withstand the cruelty born to wicked men. Lachrymose, this tragedy, as plaintive parents weep to see the woe that crept across the strip. Lamentable, lugubrious. In grief, Gaza gives up the ghost as another child stains the sallow snow. Thank you. This last poem on Palestine, not my last poem of the evening, the last one on Palestine is, and then we're going to get into some happier things, I swear to you. This is called No Time for Palestine. Open air, despair, live stream, missiles crack the air, breaking news. Not broken yet, hunger sets, stomach regrets ever knowing food. No strength to wake or shake the flies away from their bleeding wounds. No place safe, lives erased. I heard some say a beach resort is coming soon. They've already broken ground. There's no time for Palestine. Laid waste, displaced to Sinai sands, an American stands to buy their land for a token on the blockchain and the promise they can return in 10 years' time. There is no time for Palestine. Some children misled to get bread got shot in the head or their groin instead. No time to bury all the dead. There is no time for Palestine. This weaponization, starvation, amputates the nation's prayers from salvation. There's a flotilla that's raising awareness of atrocity. It's time for the world to see. There is no time for Palestine. There is no time for Palestine. I've even heard some IDF left with the guilty unrest of attrition's decisions in stark cold derision that hung like a noose around their necks. Their lies can't hide infanticide. Too many have died. I believe no reprieve will ever dissever the suffering received from this godless endeavor, and Gazan ghosts will torment their souls forever. And there's still no time for Palestine. Thank you. Well, we got through some of the difficult ones. I get a little happier here. This is a poem that's a bit of a double entendre for my, I don't know, let's say lack of religion and love of the drink. This is called Spiritual. It's a song looking for a tune. Be it a mosque, a synagogue, or a temple, be it a church or even your home, there's so many places to worship in, yet mine's the tavern up the road. Now I'm not very religious, but I'm spiritual, you see. And man alive, when I imbibe, the spirits influence me. Good spirits would grant me 3 wishes, confidence with brevity, while others would leave me hungover and deprived of dignity. My lamentations all for the libations, so pour me a pint of piety. Excommunicate my inhibitions while the spirits inhabit me. I don't care if you're the pontiff of pomp or the grand poobah of probity. I'm just here to sip from the sacrament, so leave the angels share with me. It's true that the cleric kept me cloistered and clothed in misery with self-deprecating devotionals and slurred sermons just for me. They talk suicide to ideate me. The vulgarity that they preached, they even unequaled my liberum, turning my tongue against my speech. Then the spirits ghosted all my friends and took my memories. They showed me of human bondage every time I pined quaff a drink. Now I'm not prone to protestation. I'm not prone to prostration, nor pious praying on bended knee. It took incarceral cessation to divinely humble me. Now I'd be lying if I didn't miss them. They were part of who I am, but the worst of all those spirits never really gave a damn. Now these days I ward off evil spirits, in good faith with self-control. Now that's not to say that I do not commune with them. I'll always be spiritual. Thank you. This one is, I can turn the bullets off. We done with the gunfire for now? Unfortunately, some people just can't escape it. Pity that. Anyway, nostalgia and other mental illnesses. Nostalgic dreams and memories are more beautiful than now, it seems. Though castles lived in made of sand, return when seas forget the land. In these faded family photographs are the faded lives we used to have. Some wander lost I seek to find, parts of myself scattered through time. I pour through verse to glimpse upon the prose that rose from poets' tongues, divining wind to hear the sound that lingers languid and then abounds, copious and honeyed sweet, my tickled fancies made replete. I ask the trees where breeze begins. I've heard it blows from unknown lands, on the horizon's other side, where time spans all the days gone by, are forget-me-nots held in repose, as these moments pass to mementos. Thank you. feels like two more. This one is also a song, bit of a song looking for a tune. Sometimes words are just delicious, you know, and I like to have fun with them. This is called Electric Locution. I hope the injection of my inflection breaks the tension of the monotone, and may the glamour of my grammar, lyrically lap at your lobe. I'll articulate my eccentricities, pantomiming the patois proposed, while enacting my idiosyncrasies with a pronouncement of passionate prose. My lingo will not linger languid, nor my discourse left too coarse to hear. I'll even vary my very vernacular, as my ululations alter the air. Now I know my parlance is partly perplexing. It's no pillow palaver for sure, though I'll debate the friction of diction while I'm waxing my way with these words. Now I know this infectious electric locution must come to an end, I agree, so I'll tie up my tongue's execution of this colloquial phraseology with no cessation of seminal thought, lest I cede to my soliloquy to ponder this climax of intercourse in this swan song's ascendancy. Thank you. The swords really helped with that one. And then this last one, much like these poems here, this is called Little Parts of Me. This was inspired when someone had told me that my poems had inspired them to come up and read their poems and everything, and I saw all of us poets as coming up, and we just leave little parts of ourselves up here on the stage sometimes, you know, and that's what this poem's about. I share these little parts of me everywhere I go. They inspire deep desires that provoke the soul, sometimes feelings never felt before or very rarely seen. I'll surely journey there with you through self-discovery. It's a meaningful and magic world like someone else's dream, or creative innovation that's conjoined to mystery. No, my portion is a potentate of possibilities, condensing all this chaos in conscious causality. My unbridled thoughts run wild, child, barefoot and untamed, lest obsequious obeisance should keep my tongue in chains. I'll divulge my machinations to the architects of will, in hopes that they'll conceive reprieve from all my follies, ills, as passing fancies those whom unabashed the way we are poised to seize the night and claim the fire from the stars. I am become the art I love, a true provocateur, and I share these little parts of me in hopes they'll someday change the world. Thank you. You can find me at JJDesign99 on Instagram. It's the brand I use. I post on a lot of things. 99 because we are the 99% of what give the wealth to the wealthy one, and that's got to change. Thank you very much for your time. I also have some art. I didn't know. This is my first time here, so I was told to bring some art. So I have some prints that I can sign as well. I'm signed for $25 after the show, after the event. So thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much. Let's hear it for all our guests tonight. Okay, now is the time for the open mic. And the people that have signed up, you get 3 to 5 minutes.
Go closer to 3.
Yes, because we got a bunch. So yeah, error on the side of closer to 3. Okay, do you need to get set up or are you set up?
I'm all ready.
Okay, we're gonna start with Jason, or John, because I've got Jason on the brain now. John Budon, right? Or Johnny Budon? Badu. See, you told me how to say it, and I said it wrong.
fine.
Okay, give it up.
Evening, y'all. I'm Johnny Badoon, and just want to share a little bit of my work with y'all. This is called Purple and Green. Her vocal cords massage my eardrums with the most beautiful eyes only angels would dare repeat. Her eyes penetrate my soul and clear it of all thoughts of infidelity, leaving her silhouette as my heart's memory. I rinse my mouth out with her name and swear only truths will be spoken. I murdered her soul with body kisses planted on her heart's pressure points, so a garden of light could take root and grow over the pain that others buried inside of a wound. Our arms entangle our bodies like ivy vines in euphoric meditation. I hum her name as my mantra, becoming one with her universe. We fall into a blanket of dreams and surrender to passion. All the while, my only wish is that the sunrise will never happen, because when it arrives, I know we will be over. And this one is called Pipe Dreams. She can't focus on the world with her tear-filled mascara as she reflects on her stained glass window. This neurotic nicotine nymph sends out smoke signals attracting men to crash on her heart's jagged coastlines. Her pores secrete a perfume laced with 1,000 poppy blossoms and 1,000,000 cries for help, but it only beckons vile bigots. Do they know how they kill her dreams every time they intrude her sanctum? She wants someone to see her as a queen, but they only envision her as a quick relief for stress, making her bed a fortress of servitude. She has severed her aorta, so her love will die. But each passing sleepless evening, she hopes someone can be the Band-Aid to keep her emotions from bleeding out. Okay, so this is a new one I just wrote recently, just because I was having some issues with life, and it was like, the way that you look at things can change it, so this is called Coffee and Tea. I gotta go to work, I gotta make a way, I gotta feed the kids, I gotta get paid, I gotta stay sober, I don't need to repress, I gotta eat less, remember that I am blessed. I gotta take time to myself, I gotta stay here, I gotta change my entire atmosphere. I gotta open my heart, aorta to 4 chambers. I gotta remember, I'm no longer in danger. Words you expel every time you exhale contain the same power as a magical spell. Speak freedom or jail, heaven or hell. Your language can be what tips the scales. I get to go to work. I get to make a way. I get to feed the kids. I get to get paid. I get to stay sober. I don't need to repress. I get to eat less. Remember that I'm blessed. I get to take time to myself, I get to stay here. I get to change my entire atmosphere. I get to open my heart, aorta to 4 chambers. I get to remember I'm no longer in danger.
Thank you, that's awesome. I'm sorry. I'm gonna tell you who's next in order so people know who's coming up, things like that. They're all excited because it's open mic. All right, so up next will be Michael and then Lisa.
Good evening, everybody. This is my first time at this venue, so I guess by way of introduction, I'll just say that the stuff I write is, the subject matter is serious, but I try not to take myself too seriously in the poems. So the first one is called Whenever I Go to the Grocery Store. Whenever I go to the grocery store, I don't understand why they make it so hard to find the expiration date on the package. Smudged or skewed or stamped along some never-before-noticed nook or cranny on the container. Or where's Waldo among the grocery goods? Is there some closet sadist back at the plant in charge of the stamp, getting his secondhand jollies, imagining the ocular gymnastics my eyes must endure to locate, and then try to read the dim date marking the beginning of the end. The date that signals it's time to start sniffing the milk and inspecting the cheese. I gather my groceries in my garage, carry them out of the store, across the uneven parking lot, in and out of unpredictable traffic, and into my home, where later, my hand on the grab bar, I step out of the shower, face the mirror, and try to determine where they might have stamped my expiration date. When it occurs to me the fuzz on a fresh peach is more luxurious than the shivering strands on my scalp, I wonder if perhaps the date has already passed, the odor of decay already underway. Only I am too close to notice the smell. Just one more. I'm going to stick with the theme of decomposition and decay here. This one is called Dead Coyote by the Roadside. Each day, there was a little less of you as I drive by on my way to the warehouse. If only I had the power of the magical realists, I'd bring you back long enough to give an accounting of your disintegration. Looking like the harried professor in your brindled blazer, rumpled and shedding, your presentation is charged with urgency. With your rotting cadaver, you demonstrate how organs wither, bones decay, the body shrivels, hair flutters away, whisked into oblivion by the gust of passing cars. Before the bottom half of your jaw detaches itself from your head, you make it clear you have not returned for another chance at life. There are no second chances. Because I'm on my way to work each morning, I only have time to catch snatches of your lectures. Pulling into the warehouse parking lot, I park at the far end, fog the windshield with a few deep exhales, and heave myself out of the driver's seat. Halfway across the lot, the icy knife of dawn cutting through my clothes, nose numb, lungs feeding the blood pumping to the outer reaches of my shivering extremities. I can't help but feel with each step I take, with every step I have taken or will ever take, I leave imperceptible bits of myself in my wake. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Michael. Let's hear it for Lisa.
Short person setting.
Oh, okay.
Hey y'all. So this first one is called From the Lookout Tower. It's for my friend Russell Baker, who I traveled with and worked in orchards with in my youth. From the Lookout Tower. I'm sleeping with E. E. Cummings. The complete poems, black cover from 72, jammed against my thigh. Not refined, more buck than bite. I read him 13 times a night. Aeneas gets it. I can feel it. She moves shimmering with heat in June. Now you're over me wrapped in night. Drove the rim road by moonlight. Brazened, blazing through atmosphere. Popped tektites, peridot, olivine, scattered at the canyon edge. This one's called Desert Rumors at 113 degrees. If you eat over 699 saguaro seeds, you could sprout a third arm. Else it was a third eye. If you are the first human to sit on a rock, it sort of belongs to you, but be prepared to share it with any number of critters. If the monsoon season starts on your birthday, you were never 15, but you will be 31 twice. If you take sand rubies across state lines,
You'll be confused and headachy until you return them. If you finish reading a book while sitting in Rattlesnake Creek, it may not rain for a month or more, and that's on you. If you see a tarantula on the road and it's alive, there's a small purchase of good luck associated with that. If the tarantula is dead, then watch out for snakes. If you hear an owl hoot as you hike out just after sunset, well, it depends. If another owl across the canyon responds, that's a good thing. If there's no response, well, that's just the way life goes sometimes, isn't it?
I'm going to read a couple for you now, and after me will be Elmer. So I've been saying all night that I'm a teacher, and it's May. So I haven't read my school. So these are going to be school shooting stuff, guys. So heads up, okay? I haven't read those for a few months, man. It's like, great, but we're back. All right, so this first poem I wrote in August, just as school started, after the Annunciation school shooting in Minneapolis that happened on the 28th of August. It's called Gun Country. We are all gun within this country, firearms in every fist, our holster states just places to keep them. Which fire burns us? Our arms blistered to unfeeling beyond recognition, holding death makers housed in misinterpreted amendment and inflated conceptual freedom. Our flag formed from war from the beginning, ribboned by blood, the navy blue powder burn, a muzzle mouth for every star. We are the leading cause of death for our young. Adolescent hands around pistol grips, rifle butts shrunken to fit growing shoulder hollows, one eye closed tight, always across gun sights. Self-proclaimed soldier or fodder, we shoot or be shot. No one noticing, unless the dead's mother's peripheral scream banshees through our death helmets, set like horse team blinders. Why aren't children's corpses enough for clarity? What else could change our minds if not unmade futures? Even the queers are armed now, the governed pervasive danger making weaponized survival imminent. And who are they to blame us when they, after killing dancing, put these rifles in our assaulted trembling hands like fear isn't enough? Until 8-year-olds are dead. And that one too, he was 10. While Gaza's mothers sneer at our self-inflicted crimes, our small statistics, only 44 school shootings these last 8 months, only 18 dead, only 74 injured. And why is Robin any different than Robert, or Adam, or Dylan, or Eric, or Omar, or that other Dylan spelled with 2 N's, or Salvador, or Nicholas, or Sengui, who were all open-handed children once, until we closed their fingers, akimbo grips made to carry, and write left-handed manifestos. And the thoughts and prayers descend on the already praying mass, the ones that are left. And me and my colleagues get an email saying, it's okay to be sad for just a little while, because our schools are safe. We spent the $1 million to keep them that way. And I wonder what is safer than a locked nave during Mass. All that God and praying. They did the drills too. At least our windows are not stained glass yet. And then this is the poem that I'm going to read for a big crowd of people. So, but I read Gun Country because it references Gun Country. This poem's called Women Are America's Safety and Other Puritanisms. Yesterday, my grown son told me how my 5-year-old granddaughter threatened to have her daddy shoot to kill some boy from school if he said fuck to her again. And instead of sharing his still new parent shock, I smiled a sad fucking smile into the cell phone receiver. And my son couldn't see it, how such a thing could even happen, or how he could ever hear me smile at such a thing. But I know when you raise a child in gun country, even a girl child, the desire to kill those that must be bad, those that say words men declare over pulpits as bad, or even bad men spreading hate over college lecterns, must be stopped, shot, killed dead. And the forgotten freedom of our speech lies lost in misgendered history lessons. A word shibari rigged in bad taste, fear-gagging plural pronouns, exposing shape-shifting gender. Don't get me wrong here. I'm afraid for my granddaughters even. For what kind of women will they grow to be if they can't transition into any men? With no critical race theory and 2 fascist youth pamphlets putting gun words in their mouths and loaded bullet guns in their manicured hands. Will they even let me see them then? My children raising children in Trump Trap America? I remember when Michael Jackson made Bad Mean Good, musing about power, how a Bible is rewritten by Greenwood at Mar-a-Lago land where empathy hides under religious redaction. A book abomination sitting in a place of honor on my son's desk in his home office, where just anyone learning to read could pick it up. Will my granddaughter know as she reads that the ghosts of those like her still walk that resort's halls where this sacred text was mutilated by bad, bold men again? Will my granddaughters know how bolder women were burned as witches or given to traffickers for just happening to be anything desirable or wanting anything of their own? Will they carry small pink guns under their armpit bra straps waiting for someone to say they or gay or fuck one time too many? Hearts like trucks filled with the Karen posse running down legal lynching highways, surrounded by razor-wired borders, keeping fear in and the othered out. Shooting transfigure-worded men, women, and 2 brown faces labeled as invaders, intent on transmorgifying saccharine virtue. Will I be able to get to them in time? Their queer grandmother who can outshoot any man but barely handle her own unraveling, let alone theirs? What woman fucking knows? I only know the difficulty fear and hope find in this land of subjugation, and how even Puritan immigrant bullet-ridden America needs her martyrs as she slowly bleeds to death. All right, Elmer's up, and then Jane.
I'm just going to read one tonight. It's called Draft for a Letter to the Mist. Dear Anne, I will think about you as the one that never compromised herself. You were always so honest, lovingly. Dear Miss C, I was like one of your kindergarten students when you and Bell Hooks taught me about the true nature of love. Dear Copper, deep inside my derelict soul, I mine for it, till the yellow falls off the palo verdes and you get allergies again. Dear Mocosa, I watched you use your neti pot. My eyes fell on you like a May shower, catching me off guard. Dear spring rain, your pitter-patter on the tin roof of her shed, those rare mornings when she'd let me stay over, even though it was a school night. Dear early girl, with your coffee and your champagne Camry, we'd say goodbye, and I would wish you a great day teaching. Dear nostalgic mist, you hang over the Catalinas like her memory hovers over me, and I remember that soggy and savory morning. Dear silence, we have nothing left to say, and so we have nothing left between us at all, except for that memory of that misty, rainy May morning where we said goodbye for the last time. Thank you.
I love that, Elmer. Thank you. That was nice to hear after my pretty savage ones. And all I hope is that my students think fondly of me at some point. All right. All right. Give it up for Jamie, and then there'll be Jacob.
Thank you. I like what you said about people leaving little pieces of themselves like that. This is about my twin brother. Brother, in our lives before this, we were always by each other's sides, running in the same crowd, each other's first confidant. It was easy, we were equals, and everybody treated us the same. We built wooden bridges together and surfed the same waves. In this one, we breathed different air, each tumbling forward, near but apart from one another. My world, the underworld of weirdo lost girls, unseen by your world, the overworld of big wave surfer boys. We smoked the same weed, you were my supply. You charged me dollars more, but it got us girls high. We went to the same bars, but everybody only met your eye. I surfed smaller waves. When I was lucky, rode up the coast by your side, photographed you in a barrel, laid my head in the sand, felt the sun hit me on my hands. I didn't follow in your footsteps, you didn't follow in mine. Your vision was clouded from seeing my world, but I could see yours just fine. But through the patient passage of time, I climbed up into the overworld, finally seen by all, and I showed them all what's hidden, the treasures tucked out of view. A salamander under a log, gophers buried beneath the morning dew-covered soccer fields where the children play their summer days away. But most of all, me and my friends, as we were in that other world down under, and those of us that still reside down beneath the ground. And I told our stories as I knew them, to share the wonder of all that we are. And brother, through this all, the air we breathe became the same air again, as it was in our lives before, the balance of our lives restored once more. And if we walk side by side in this life, well, time has yet to show us if that will be our way. But side by side or across a mountain range, bedrock desert or a sea, we reside in the same world and can see each other perfectly.
Okay, next is Jacob and then Rocco.
Is this high enough? Okay. I can also project, so maybe. Sometimes I get in the phones. I'll read a couple. We'll go from kind of like pretty straightforward to more abstract. So, and I have a draft, so bear with me on the final one. First one, Mongolian buffet. There's duct tape on the crack in the vinyl, and the gold embroidered frames are half crooked. Purple rain is all there is in the empty dining room. Purple rain is the oyster sauce, ginger, and garlic perfumed beneath me. Do you like tomato wedges? I have found a stir fry incomplete without them. At least now I do, after this meal. They're briny, warm, and absolutely oozing umami. To that, I look up at the empty air, sip my ice water from RC Cola plastic, acknowledge the solitude, and peel my skin to stand. Another shorter one here. I suck at titles. That's the running theme. This is called Eros poem, and I have a literature guy over here, so I'm scared that I'm going to get something wrong about Eros. Anyway, Eros once asked whose spoon this was clean and whose cup this was unfull. The replies siphoned his mailbox. Some were long, some were brief. Some printed, others on napkins inked or brazed on scraps of metal sheet. All were addressed not to whom it may concern, but to whom it is about to. Eros, once again, gazed to the fields of asphodel and lavender. Still no butterfly, only bees. And then, final one, this is the draft, so bear with me. I've never read it. But kind of an ode to poetry, in a way, in a really weird way. I don't know, it's still developing. No title yet. I palm the leather binding and it coos to me softly, subtly voracious, seeping, swayed into the arches and loops, feeding me its hunger, no longer appetite, but depravity. I am here. I am here. I paw my toe at the door, the space, it ripples and arches over. There is no no, and I am here, standing, settled, clean clairvoyance hinged in space. I can place my foot through, and I do, and I am standing. And I can sweat and chew, I can eviscerate, advocate, dislocate, and recenter into an echo. I have come forth. Good grace. I have come forth and I am here. Can you hear me? I have stepped and leaned, arched forward, behind. I have slept before. I can dictate a loose paradiddle. I can unwind a fist. I can look ahead. I am here and I have seen behind. I elope with the parallel. Amor fati, I raise my eyes, plant my feet, open the cover, hear my words. Thank you.
Jacob and Jamie and Lisa have been in a poetry class with me, so I'm so happy they're here. And Fabian too. Okay, next we're gonna have Rocco and then Yusa.
Heat. Renewed through the flames encourages us in becoming crumbled pillars of salt. Dirt. The temptation of repose which depends on the manner and the purity of the risk. Static. Harmonies of hot light libretto, the chaos blends to a fine fuzz. This is the bourgeois art of living. Of the plural body, which body, hers is a digestive body, siphoning and crunching toward detonation, the plasticage of discourse. Perhaps the books in the basement are Sadean sexual fantasies, so of the body's dirt, deep soil, without rhyme there is only heat. Propulsion between page and eye, skull and word, a heavy vibrato, blur rhythm with lung, raise the pitch, penetrate what in you is of the earth, that hot inside. The audience doesn't want lessons, they want recipes, they want the erotic promise of a high thread count, they want safe heat, minimal dirt, they want their radios tuned just so, avoiding static. Memory, the phenomenon of empty space, of limbs rendered heavy, useless, text on the page, scars on the back, the grinding of teeth, climax, empty gaze. Voyeurs rest their arms on black plastic bars, a scream, perfected, the droning buzz of fruit flies in this velveteen cave. Cut. There is a page. There is a cue, a gasp, denouement, a deep breath, an entering. One's heart escapes one's chest. One's brain escapes one's skull. Chair appears stage right, vacant, the endless division of bone, the orchestra, the dragging of one's fingernail down one's cheek. Decrescendo, this minor key, loose coins in a cup, like a tambourine, at the edge of the stage.
For us earlier. I'm so glad to hear more. All right, Yusef's going to be next, and then Ev will wrap things up, unless there's somebody out there who didn't sign up. Let's hear it for Yusef. This is awesome.
Hi everyone, my name is Yusef, and tonight I have a recipe to read, okay? It's baked granola custard for Mother's Day, okay? Step 1 is to scavenge the pantry, okay? I feel like a bird in my house. Step 2, start pouring out granola. Step 3, remember to preheat the oven, so preheat the oven. Step 4, chop some almonds, chop some walnuts, okay? But step 5, realize the knives are dull. So fortunately you did buy a knife sharpener on impulse from Target a few weeks ago. So sharpen our knives and try again. And I really did this, by the way. You can see it here. So I'm speaking from experience. Step 6, pour in the chopped walnut almond mixture, but you spill some of it because you were holding your phone. Okay. Step 7, it's time for the wet ingredients. Okay. Pour out some milk. But then you run out halfway through, okay, so you crush it in anger and throw it in your sink, okay? So step 8, you adjust the recipe measurements. You kind of have to decide which mouth won't get fed today like they did during the war, from which she was a refugee. So step 9, add eggs, honey, vanilla extract, a pinch of cinnamon, a pinch of salt too, and a heap of love, okay? But step 10, get confused about why one of these yolks started to spread. I don't know if you can see it. So get confused. But step 11 is to just ignore it and keep going. Okay, and it turns out you don't have vanilla. So step 12, contemplate adding random shit instead. Okay, you have cardamom extract. You have baking powder, you have something clipped, and you have green food coloring. Okay, so you've got options. Okay, step 13, do without the vanilla. Because step 14, the microwave beeps for the 10th time. Your milk, which you put to warm, it went cold. So warm it up again while you whisk in the ingredients you do have. Step 15, take a selfie from the microwave. Okay. Please do not turn on the microwave, okay? Do not turn on the microwave during your selfie. So step 16, things are coming together. You have your mixture, your dries, it's time for a pan. Step 17, no round pan. You find a rectangle. Will it work? Only one way to find out, okay? Step 18, you pour it. Do not mess it up, okay? You already have a lot to clean up, okay? Step 19, wonder if it's too shallow, but go ahead and scatter the granola stuff over anyway. It's like bird food. Step 20, it doesn't really have a custard vibe. It's You just sprinkle some brown sugar over it, okay? Make it look good. Step 21, it's finally time for the oven. Good call on preheating, okay? Never trust the oven's temperature, okay? Do not trust it. Let it preheat for some extra time, okay? Step 22, bake it for 30 minutes, okay? So relax. Step 23, just kidding. Wash the dishes, okay? Get to work. This domestic sphere is no place for laziness. It's hard work keeping up a house. Step 24, realize that you forgot to put on a timer. Okay, just guesstimate on your computer, okay? 28 minutes. Step 25, make an omelet while you wait, okay? With spinach and cheese, okay? Make yourself some omelet. Let's hope I won't cause egg prices to surge again, okay? But the number of, I think I used 5 eggs, okay? So that's a lot of eggs in this whole project. But step 26, marvel at the astonishing beauty of what I baked. While she's asleep, vacuum the house. It'll wake her up conveniently and knock off another to-do list item. The chores are not the Mother's Day special. They're simply the Sunday routine, the labor that must be done, holiday or not. Enjoy the crunchy pumpkin seeds, though it's not to my taste, and enjoy the small moment of love you've built that transcends the language barrier you guys have, or the generational gap, or whatever division the world seeks to build between home and what lays beyond it. So enjoy. And if you'd like to read more of my work, you can go online to my blog. It's called Persuasion Tactics. It's on Instagram, and I'm also using Substack to kind of create this. So thank you very much for the lovely view.
I've known Yusuf for a while. Yusuf was one of my students a long time ago. I know. You can make it out alive.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah. And then go back and work at the school that you went to. No, I'm so happy Yusuf is here. Okay. Wrapping this up is Ed.
Okay. We're going to start coherent, and then it's going to get abstract. There's a few of them. Emancipation of Wasp. Sand representing glass hours, eye sifts, and still finger pedal tips, a packed composition complex and delicately formed to tessellate in diaphonemes insofar as distance can calibrate to be fig leaf anagogy. Envoy. Bodies conveying void, orbiting orbicules, Ordovician era aura in oniric orgone orexis and aureus gobbledygook, from Gobekli oubliettes quadruped plectrums est to Q over ort cloud acumenes, spooling globules of a purported acumen, pooling in quantic immediacies. At the hubris of a disparate verge, the dwelling lingers. Theophanies of thanatonic loci, each taking the inverse longitude of fathom. Episodic incinerations surmounting in wormhole sonatas. And this last one's unfinished. I call it Archaeopteryx Nursery. Slain, Juggernaut, Jasper, Jaguite, Hazurite, Agathism, Agates, again Agog, since it's ago, aggregated anachronistically to God, Dog, Phagian Aegis, phased in contagions of Cerberic acerbicisms, serpentines, serendite, serif sermons, and seraphic concentrations, the many-headed Hydra-esque hedonic, apocryphal, psychotronic form, phonic, tongue, languished, andesite sigh, frigid new sequence, Mithra-embedded hypotonic, I think, an ethotic thrashing of iams, obviated the discourse chant, as Hadean foghorn incunabula rises incunably in its flotsam bloat, inevitable pressures processing a far-thrusted amoeba, petrolith, Atenna resonant, haunted, linger, histology, numismatic. Thank you.
What do you think, Fabian? You'll read one? Okay. Fabian's one of my classmates, and this is like I've been trying to encourage him, and it's good, yeah. And then are we doing this little film thing? No. Okay. All right. Let's be supportive and give a welcome for Fabian.
I've actually never done an open mic, so. I'm just gonna share one poem. It's about my family, and a lot of my poems are like that. I just kind of reminisce, I think. So this one's called Wheat and Life. I'm defeated to share. Another day had to be like this. So I'll hide it in bad font, in cursive. If it's nice, if it's not, if I impressed my parents with it, if English barred them for their crimes. Dad's hands chapped in the desert. Mom's raw from scrubbing. Mine burned from the typewriter. The struggle. We work for an honest life. My youth still soft until my fingers callous. I still hold my pencils well. I'm hidden away in the back of class, listening to my professor profess about their profession. Their heart beats, and they raise their arms to conduct a song, scarlet. They bow their baton, borrowed from their nest, crimson. My soul stuff is quite crimson. It's the wine I drink. I swim in its bottle with beaten sails. Oak can weather across an ocean wide, but I lose myself along the way. I know these waves, these words flow, but I can't raise my hand, touch the summer breeze, and ask my professor for help as I drift away. I was curious about following the heart to discover its life, only to understand it leads back to itself. I'm away, I tell my doctor. It's not the morning, it's the evening. It's not the east, it's the west. It's not the bark, it's the rings. It's not the cage, it's the spine. And I'm kept in bed, but I can't sleep. Doctor, lend it to me. My heart is slowing down. And coffee is a bean like the brother I don't have. And coffee is a bean for happy people. Tannins make me bitter. Tannins relieve them from their stress. They clink their fine glass. Mine is quite dull down in the sink. I'll finish my bottle, so I won't wash a glass. The ringing reminds me of spare change anyway. My happiness takes business days. My doctor continues to work. It'll cost me to steal another glass of wine, but it'll pay them to break another piece of bread, beige like my skin. I'll tell the bartender my dad cleaned dishes, and I'll roll up my sleeves. So I try to let go of my hate, but like a clot, my life drains. A blue sky is oxygen kept from me. Gay, gray is his dull life. Bone is any remnant. I needed a starter, passed down from eon times. I would have liked to at least have some sort of recipe from a communal place. It's as simple as that. We trade, we give to, I even decorate a cake. But at home, yells asphyxiate the kitchen like a broken stove. The holidays are over. I'll have to move out. It's true. My doctor told me to grow up. my professor and director too, so fine, so it won't be this life. What I can bear right now is some dream of the next one, where mom's happier. It's how I'll get to know her, my first poem. It's how I'll always remember her. I'll climb onto the counter to flip through her recipes. Her handwriting is like grandma's, moving like little strings jumping from you to me. I'm too young to read then, but I'll spend the rest of this life dreaming of what labor belonging to us can be and feel like. In the morning, I'll head to class, and I won't ask about my heart. I'll read about an isolated organ and the running it needs to stay alive. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, well, thank you all for coming. This was really wonderful. We're taking time off for the summer because it's hot. we does hibernate in the summer, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, we'll be back in September, and so keep your eye out for that event where we'll kick off the season. And again, thank you so much for being here.